Hello everybody, welcome back. My name is Daniel Gramali. Today I'm going to play against Engines. So this site is called jimmyrussells.com. I'll link it down below in the description. Feeling a bit angry at the moment. So maybe I can take my anger out on these Engines. But they're quite strong. So let's start off by playing the first one. Let's start a game. You do get a lot of adverts on this site. I don't have an advertising blocker. Okay, so let's start off. Of course, yeah. So what it does actually shows you the score. I think that kind of helps your performance in a way, because it gives you an idea of what the actual evaluation is. Obviously, it doesn't mean you're going to get a draw. So he's gone Queen B6 to kind of. You can't do the arrows on this, but he's defending B5. So okay, so I could bring the knight into E5. That's one possibility. But the problem, yeah, so it's saying that it's slightly bad for black, but obviously what that tends to mean is if you start making inaccuracies, it goes up to clearly better for black. I could take and go B3 as one option actually. Then if it goes B4, I've got knight A4, so I could try that. Let's try that. Because after B3 I should, like if it takes, okay, he's gone bishop F8, right, which I missed. That's probably a good move, right? Because anything else I think I was doing quite well, but now, I mean, stuff we've taken on B5 doesn't look right, doesn't look anywhere near enough, so I could go, could I go knight A2 actually? Because if it takes on B3, I'll take on B4. And if he goes back, then I take on C4. But then he can go B. I guess you go knight A2, right? Yeah, that was the best move. Right. So if I take on B4, it takes back. Yeah, it's tough to play against these Engines, right? They're just tough. So I could take on C4. Then that would weaken C4. So one thing I could, so you should look at checks and captures. I could take on B4. If it takes to the pawn, I've got bishop C4, for example. Another option is knight E5. It's also possible. And knight E5 maybe it just goes C3 actually. So anything about, oh, there's Queen A4 check then, right? Yeah, I'm having to calculate, which is. So it's between probably knight b4, knight b4, a b4, bishop c4. It could go bishop c4, rook a8, bishop f1. And if queen f1 just castle, seems to be doing quite well. Ready to go knight c6. But I don't know, maybe not. Maybe that's not that great for black, I don't know. But the other option is knight e5. I think I would try 95, but I have a feeling that's a bad move. No, it's actually not bad. So again, I could take on c4. I think he just comes back to c7. If I get knight c4, it's probably just going to go back to c7, right? If I get knight b4, goes a b4. So I'm probably going to take on c4. It's taken back. and then it's probably going to just develop a knight. So I'm having to play almost perfect chess just to stay in the game, right? It seems that way. Okay, none of my moves have been that difficult to find, but still, you feel the pressure when you play against engines, right? So again, if I take on b4, it's just going to have this passed pawn, which is quite nice. There is an option of going bishop d2. Try to trade that bishop. Again, it's not threatening anything directly. Something you have to bear in mind. As queen b3 is also possible. I'm kind of drawn... queen b3 I'm kind of drawn to because... okay, I'm going to try queen b3. It might be a mistake. Actually, I think maybe... Actually, maybe it was saying I was better. But when it says plus, that means it's better for the computer. When it says minus, that means it's better for the opponent. So there's bishop d2 here. Well, I could take and then put the bishop somewhere. Of course, then it's got the outside pass pawn. This is the problem. Maybe I'll take and then play bishop d3. Or do I want to put the bishop on e2? It's very difficult because he's just basically playing perfect chess. And I'm obviously not. Right? Bishop's knight c4 is a move I missed. I can't go rook d1 because of knight b2. So I could take, but that's definitely some kind of... I could take and go rook c1 and just try and hang in there. I mean, I don't see anything else really. It's probably a mistake to do this. Yeah, so what it takes... The other option is to take out a knight, but then it's going to go a4. I'll try to take out a knight. I mean, one idea that black has is to go knight e4. One idea is just to go a3, a2. I want to develop this knight, but where do I put it? Maybe knight d3. And I'm worrying about king f1 because I don't think you can take this pawn immediately. You've got to watch out for that later though. There's a2, I think there's knight c1, right? Maybe this. There's also bishop b4. I don't know how close I am to a draw after bishop e4, but I suspect probably not very. It's a very forcing move though, so it either works or it doesn't. In general, you want to exchange pieces against the engine. So it's gone there. Oh, this is clever. So it wants to play... What it wants, I believe, is to play... after knight c2, knight d2 check and knight c4. But then king d3. I feel like, because the problem is if I go king e2 goes rook b8, and when I go knight c2 goes rook b2. And I haven't got king d3 because of... So I just play the most forcing move, which is this. No, it's a blunder. So my idea was to come back. I missed this idea. Yeah, so now I'm losing. So that was a good fight actually in the end. I think we can't actually go back, which all I can do is play a new game, right? There are some faults with this side. For example, if you have threefold repetition, which is often a classic way of getting a draw against an engine, it doesn't seem to allow it. So you just keep repeating forever. So there's something that the guy needs to fix. Right, let's start another game on fish. So I'm white. So let's try a different way. Okay, so it's probably going to take, and then go bishop f5, I would imagine. So at the moment it's assessing it as, well, hang on, it hasn't played. No, it's sort of, it's stuck here. Yeah, the moment it's saying that it's better for white, because when it says minus, that means minus for the computer, as far as I'm aware. Yes. So this is a line that's very popular. They normally go rook e8 and h5. It's got h6, which is interesting. Not a terrible move, but that does suggest later on that maybe I could try some sacrifices. Like, for example, I could put the bishop on e3 now, and actually bishop queen c7. So now I'm going to castle queen side. It might go c5. Yeah, that was what I was afraid of. Well, not afraid, but the problem is if you take twice, so dc5, bishop c5, queen c5, knight d4. It has queen g5 check, and then take on g2. Although I'm not sure that works actually, because dc5, bishop c5, queen c5, knight d4, queen g5, queen d2, queen g2, rook g1. Although if you go rook d g1, it could go queen h3, and you can't take on h6. But you can go rook g3, and then rook g1. So I don't think it'll do that. So I could take all this. I think it's going to put a knight on e5, or try to go knight c6. So it's obviously going to take back. So my idea is to go knight d4. You generally want to be solid against an engine anyway. I'm not sure if there's a better continuation here for white. Yeah, knight c6 is a very solid move. So if I take on c6, it's probably going to take with a pawn, right? There's also bishop e4 as an option, but I'm not sure what that really gains. So I'm going to take, it might well take with a pawn. No, he likes position now. I shouldn't have done that. As soon as you get a worse position, you know you're screwed. So you have to be better to have any chance. Okay, I could go here. There's now queen g5 is quite a serious threat, maybe. Bishop e6. It's simple chess. Just tap the pawn. So I think knight c6 was a slight panic by me. I shouldn't have done that. I probably had better options. Well, clearly I did have better options. Maybe knight b3 was also a possibility. It's very easy to panic when you're playing these monsters. I mean, one thing I've noticed is Stockfish on this site is that all the engines on this site is they play. I think they play the best moves. You know, like when you play bots on chess.com, they often play quite badly. But I think that this one, they're like sort of programmed to always try and play the best moves. So some of the bots, even the top engine bot, is not as strong as this on chess.com. I don't think. But it's not bad. Obviously, it's still good enough to beat you, so it's kind of irrelevant. I'll probably resign that one because it's gone a bit boring. Let's choose a new opponent. Let's try and play. Why don't we play against Alexandra, which is also a very strong engine. I'm going to play random. So I'm going to start game. Okay. So actually, you can change the opening book as well. So I'll start. It's random. I keep getting white, so I might have to set it to definitely black. Okay, so it's kind of similar to what I was doing before. So maybe I'll try e3. I wonder if it'll go f5. That's interesting. No. So it wants to. So one of the lines here is bishop d3, and they normally take. It gets very sharp actually. This is like the Moran Slav, something Slav. And then the main line is bishop d3, but you can also go bishop b3 or bishop e2. Probably go bishop f1 is also possible. And now I believe the main line is possibly e4, although castles is also possible. Then you go a6. Right? So if you go e4, they go c5, I think. You can also go a4. That's kind of an interesting move. If you go b4, you go knight e4 probably. Okay, c5. That's a move I missed actually. So clearly he's threatening to take on e4. If I take on f6, it might go queen f6 or gf6. This is some kind of theory actually. Of course, I've forgotten all of it. Or I don't really study this theory that well. If you take on c5 with a knight, because you take the pawn, you lose the piece. Then it might go bishop c5, d c5, knight c5, creating a threat against the bishop. And when you drop back to e2, it might trade, and then after rook takes, I've got a hold on b3. That's one of the problems in this line for white. Once you've gone a4, so I might take here. It feels like the most. It has indeed gone queen f6. Yeah, that's kind of an annoying move because if I go e4, it probably will just take on d4. There doesn't seem to be anything wrong with taking the pawn. Yeah, the Slav is quite a good opening for black, I think. It's like very flexible and solid. So here maybe I should... I wondered about bishop e2, but that does look very passive. Probably not a very good move, right? So already I'm faced with a serious problem. This is a problem when you play computers because they're playing perfect chess. And even if you're a strong human chess player or a decent human chess player or, you know, a half reasonable one, it can be difficult to even approach playing perfect chess. I think a5 actually, weirdly enough, is a move here because, yeah, I vaguely actually remember analysing something like this. So queen a4 now, trying to pin the knight, it will take the pawn on f3. And, you know, you could be cheeky there and try to, you know, hope for that it's going to go queen g4 check and force a draw, but it's probably not going to. I mean, maybe I could go queen c2 at the end, threatening bishop e4, but it feels a bit vague. The bishop e4 isn't really a threat anyway because of queen g4 check. So that isn't a massive threat. The knight e5 immediately is possible because if it takes, queen takes, you've got queen a4 check. But given it's a materialistic computer, I'd probably stave off the attack after, say, king d8 or king e7. So this is a very serious moment and I have to find the right solution. Maybe bishop d2 is the right move. Because h6 didn't really create a threat, right? But he wants to go bishop d6. Yeah, it's a really tough decision there. I vaguely remember analysing this a while back, or something similar. Rook e1, because bishop f3 isn't necessarily a threat, because queen f3, gf3, ed4, ed4, even though that looks terrible for white, you're quite solid, and you're quickly going to develop the bishop and develop the rook to c1. Yeah, queen a4 feels like desperation. What else could I do? I need to find something here. See, if I was playing, this is why it's much easier playing as a human player, because when you're playing against a computer, you know you have to find the best moves. When you're playing against a human, you like, I could play something creative, and they might mess up. Right? It doesn't matter if it's bad. They have to find all the right moves, and they might not do that. When you're playing as human computer, you know, it doesn't mess up, so you're going to be in trouble. So, what do I do here? This is I mean, bishop c2 is actually a move because you want to go bishop. Okay, I'll try bishop c2. Now that was a mistake. Too slow. I wanted to go here. It's bad. So that was an interesting position when I went bishop c2, but I've somehow cocked it up. Okay, I'll try taking. I don't understand this position now. And now it hates my position. It's interesting how much, because I wouldn't say it's like that bad. You know, it's funny how, maybe it's because the computer just sees that far into the future. I think that's what it, would you actually say this is like plus 1.5 for black at this point? Yeah, I mean, it's got very good development, but it doesn't look that bad for white, right? You know, like, I mean, bishop c2 was obviously just a bad idea. It's anti-positional. Queen c2 feels a bit desperate. I'm going to try queen c2. Oh, we can take a castle, which I missed. Because if you take here, takes an f3. And now I'm busted. So it's funny how the evaluation just shoots up once you start playing inferior moves. So take back, it's got like queen check, maybe. Or just take. I'm going to get mated, like queen c5, rook d5 or something. I'll just show that anyway, just, yeah, rook d5. Yeah, nice game in the end by the computer. Can we do a rematch? Play again. Okay, I am black this time. That's good, right? Let's do some songs while we're... Let's do a song. Let's do like Roy Orbison. You know, we could do a song from that. We were talking about Blue Velvet. It's funny. I was talking about David Lynch the other day on a Title Tuesday stream, and then he died the very next day. Let me just get rid of Facebook. That's really weird, isn't it? Kind of freaky, right? Oh, it hates this whole line for black, because look, it's already giving like plus. So clearly you can't play this line, because the computer just thinks it's rubbish. Plus 0.85. I'm sure it wouldn't give that another line. Let's try this line. This is a line a lot of people play. They go here and then they go e5. d5, it loves d5, right? Now, am I supposed to go knight e5 here or knight? I guess knight e5 is the main line, right? So b3. Yeah, I mean, it doesn't really look that bad for black, but somehow it is. So I'll try this move because that's a typical idea, and you go a6. And then you play for b5. But if I go rook b8, it'll go a4. If I go b5, I could go b5 and sack a pawn, but it will claim that I don't get enough comp. Rook b8, a4, bishop d7. How does it refute that? Maybe not so easy to refute that idea, but maybe you don't need to refute it. You just need to play. I could try rook b8, right? I mean, b5 is the other move that I'm seriously considering whether that's. But obviously against a computer, you're very reluctant to give up pawn. But it doesn't really matter what I do because I'm just going to lose anyway. Okay, did go a4. That was what I was predicting. So now, if queen b6 got rook a3. Or knight d2, sorry. Knight d2, actually. So I'll try that move. It didn't like that move. Didn't like that. Did not like that. Let's do the David Lynch song, right? The candy colored clown they call the Sandman tiptoes to my room every night, sprinkles silver sawdust and he whispers, go to sleep, everything is alright. I close my eyes, then I drift away into the magic night. I softly say a silent prayer, like dreamers do. Then I fall asleep to dream my dreams of you. In dreams I walk with you. In dreams I talk to you. In dreams you're mine. All of the time we're together. In dreams, and just before we're gone, I awake to find you're gone. I can't help it, I can't help it if I cry. I remember, let's go Queen A1, when you said goodbye. The fact that all these things could only happen in my dreams, only in dreams, beautiful dreams. Yeah, again, it's funny the evaluation because it's a very optimistic evaluation, isn't it? It doesn't look like a minus 3 point. You know, I'm not material down, right? Am I material down? I don't think I'm material down. So, what's the other songs? I Was Alright. So basically, In Dreams, that was written by, I think, Roy Orbison. He wrote it very quickly because he had a dream. He dreamt that song in his sleep. And obviously he was kind of a bit of an Anglophile. I think he married an English woman eventually. He was originally married to an American. I could be wrong about all this. But he was definitely an Anglophile. He spent a lot of time in the UK. He's friends with Elvis Presley. And Elvis Presley used to say, better voice than even Elvis. I'm caught in a trap. I can't walk out because I've got the theory wrong, baby. Minus 3.13. What you doing to me when you can't believe a word I say? You can't go on together with suspicious minds. We just can't build up bridges on suspicious minds. Oh, friend of mine. Yeah, the problem is I got no moves. I can't really move anything. It wants to move the rook and then eventually go bishop f4 and drive me back. And whenever I go to b6, it's got knight c4 ideas. Like, well, maybe then queen b3. But queen b6 is problem is I don't never create a threat. So I could try knight e8. But it's going to be in time with this idea of going bishop f1. Yeah. So even though I saw what was coming, it still didn't save me, right? And the point is that knight b5 is met with, still does seem like a very weird evaluation, right? I think it just sees so far into the future. It's like psychic. It doesn't really, I mean, I'm not material down here, so why on earth is this evaluation so bad for me? Because if knight b5 rook a4, I'm thinking queen c3 is okay, right? Or is it? Maybe not. Okay, knight b5, how does it refute knight b5? Maybe it's just a massive optimist in general. You know. Just say hello, but you can't believe a word I say. It's probably going to trap my queen somehow. I don't see it. Maybe after knight b5, rook a4, queen c3, it can go knight b2, but no, then knight d4. Well, we'll find out anyway. What has he got planned after knight b5? I thought queen c3 was saving me, but I think I must have blundered, overlooked. Maybe queen c3 just goes knight b6. Ah, right. Simple. Because it hits the knight, so it's threatening to just take knight. I can't move the knight because I'll lose the queen. And then when I take on a1, it takes back. And then when I move the knight, it's going to have knight d7 winning exchange. And exchange up for a computer is just winning position. So knight b6. Let's try taking here. I was alright for a while. I could smile for a while. But then I saw you last night. You held my hand so tight as you stopped to say hello. Well, you wished me well. You couldn't tell that I've been crying over you, crying over you. You left me standing all alone, alone and crying. So yeah, In Dreams, that was in that film Blue Velvet, wasn't it? That we were talking about. Actually, there's another film I made with that song in it, and I think that starred Robert Downey Jr. and Annette Bening. I could be wrong. It was called In Dreams, right? Simply called In Dreams. And so knight d7 looks normal, and then try and go c5, right? So I could wait. I think it wants to go knight d2. If I go c5 immediately, what is so bad about that? Nothing monstrously bad, but maybe rook c8 first. Knight d2 or e3, right? E3. So c5 looks... I think c5 it just puts the knight on e5 or something. And the problem is it's very hard to break the tension by taking on c4 because of c5, knight e5. You can't take on c4 because bishop's always hanging. I'm going to try c5 because it's not the only move. It takes first. I mean, maybe you take with a knight, actually. Knight takes does have some sense. Because the idea is to take on c3, really, some of the pressure. So we could try knight takes. And then we take out the bishop, of course. We take out the bish. But this is clever. So it wants cd4, e4, I think. Although then bishop b7, it's not completely horrendous. Although I guess knight d4 and then very quickly brings a rook to d1. I'll try cd4. It feels like the most natural move. Again, I'm shocked by the evaluation that knight e4 is huge. It's just huge. I mean, it doesn't feel that bad. It's just amazing how far they see into the future. I mean, it's almost like the very natural recapture with a bishop was a decisive mistake, and obviously that means I should have recaptured a pawn, I guess. Unless d3 was a move, but possibly was. We can go on together with suspicious minds. So what to do a very typical Catalan idea of, wants to put the knight on c6, which would be a real big problem for me if it gets the knight to c6. Now knight c5 is possible, but maybe it just goes b4 anyway. Although then knight a4, right? Knight c6, rook c6, queen d5, queen f3. You could take on b2, either by taking on f3 first, take on b2, or taking on b2 immediately. But knight c5, it can do other moves. Obviously, this is a problem with calculation. You have to check everything. You can't just say, well, yeah, it goes that line and that's fine, but in reality, it's not. Knight e5 is also a move. Knight e5. But knight e5 f4 is a problem. I think knight e5, if knight e6, then you can go... Actually, knight e6 is actually possible, because fe6, rook c8. And if queen c8, then bishop e5. So you don't have this queen d5 forking the bishop. You could take on c1 first, rook c1, knight e5, but I think it's just going to go f4 and it'd be better. So I'll try that move. I don't really have no faith in it. Computer doesn't hate it, doesn't think it makes... So is it queen e8 or queen c7? Queen c7, b4, right? Maybe. walk into a pin. Queen e8 also looks very passive. Queen c7, b4, you do have queen b7. And then if queen f3, again, you trade, you go knight a4. Doesn't look great. But, you know, beggars can't be choosers sort of thing. I'll try queen c7. I hope it's not a blunder. No, it hates it. Hates it. Oh, I missed that move. Yeah, now I'm in trouble because queen b7, it can take and go knight c6. So I'm -2. Okay, I resign that one. Okay, let's play another game. Yeah, and there was also there was a similar kind of film to Blue Velvet, came out around about that period with Laura Dern, I believe, and it was called Wild at Heart with Nicolas Cage. And I was watching this film with Nicolas Cage the other day, actually, which I've seen before. It's called Knowing. So I never sure whether you should put knight on f3 or knight on e2. We'll try knight e2. I don't know if you've seen that film before. It's kind of patchy, I would say. It's like it's got good ideas, but it somehow doesn't quite work. Maybe queen c2 is a move. I mean, sometimes they go f3. I'm not sure immediately, but queen c2 is also playable, right? So a5, you've got one g6. So I'll try the usual recipe, which is rook b1. a5 is a good response. Essentially, it just went b5, actually. It's kind of shocking, but... Yeah, because in some ways I'd like to go a4, b4, knight b1 to go to d2, but the knight's the rook's already on that square. So maybe the fact that I'm combining plans isn't ideal. Knight g3 is a move. But then knight f8, it's rock solid. And the thing about computers is, always got, you know, the great thing about computers is they've got so many resources. It doesn't matter even if you get a good position. Because it's so tactically resourceful, it will outplay you and beat you. Hates my last move because it's creating a weakness. But again, I mean, how on earth can this be plus 1.64? It doesn't make any sense. I mean, surely I haven't played it this badly, have I? I mean, it looks like an unclear position. What is going on? You know? Okay, good take on f6. But yeah, the fact that I won't have the bishop pair is quite significant. It will eventually... I mean, the two moves are bishop h6 and bishop f6. I'll try bishop h6. Oh, so this is a problem which I missed, which I should have really seen. So I should have taken probably on f6. Because now knight g8 is a threat. Quite a big threat, actually. You know, computer will do that because it's materialistic. So I might have to come back here and then, yeah, I wanted to go back to f4, but it's just really poor play by me in the early middle game, to be honest, because I shouldn't have got... Now I can go g5 and doesn't even care. I thought he would try and win the piece, but it's like, your position is so bad. The whole thing about AI now is like, everyone going, you know, we're getting these really clever computers. I mean, one thing that's slightly disturbing about it is that you get videos now and drawings which are just as good as the real thing. You know, I think what the danger with something like AI is, I'm not so much worried that it will take over the world. You know, like some people are. I think obviously there is some danger of that, but I think it's fairly small. I think what where the danger is, where the real danger is it takes away from human achievement because, not that that's necessarily a bad thing, but, let's just say you have a great scientist like Einstein. Where is his relevance in a society dominated by super intelligent machines? Because, they probably would be able to figure out all the answers to the questions that he would have wanted to pose. So where's the achievement? So I want to go like e4 here, but the knight's hanging. So I'm going to go here. And when he goes, oh, it's just killing my e. It just wants to go f5. Yeah, that's killed my idea, which is very clever. You can learn from that actually. Just go f5 and kill my idea. Now he wants to go rook e7. I'm going to put a rook on e1, but I'm not very happy about it. Maybe we'll go b3. But rook a7, right? Then where do I put the knight? Actually, to be honest, maybe I'm already losing the pawn because if I go knight g3, he goes bishop f, trades everything, and then d4 is hanging in. So how do you stop that? Maybe you don't. I'm kind of losing interest in this game. Yeah, it just takes everything off and d4 is hanging, and it will convert that because the machine is going to play perfectly. We'd probably have shaky technique, but it's got super confidence. This is why it's so important to work on your technical game, because if you've got that super technique, it takes the pressure off you in the opening and middle game. You can convert these positions. Okay, I'll assume it will win that. Let's choose a new opponent, right? Let's try Berserk. Start game, random again. I like playing random. It's one thing I've noticed that I hate slimes with e5, but I'm going to try e5 anyway. Okay, we'll try this move, b4. Now, how does it refute this? This is like a very popular line now. I always forget whether you're supposed to go knight c6 or d6, but I'll go knight c6. Doesn't hate this line yet. But black. Maybe bishop c5 is a move. So if e4, it'll go d4. 100%. So it wants to go d4. I could go d6, d4 and drop the bishop back. Maybe that's what I'll do. So there's one or two games where I've kind of done a reasonable job. And then there's other games where I just haven't done a good job at all. So I'm hoping this is gearing up to be one of those games where... Yeah, that's a very typical idea in these kind of systems. So you put the queen there and it creates some pressure. So if I castle king's side, then it's got knight g5 ideas. And it's kind of, yeah, this is clever stuff by the engine. Okay, I'll take here. No, I blundered that it's got a knight e5 idea. So knight e7, knight e5, this is kind of like a blunder by me. Yeah. And that is a nice development for white. It's got like queen bishop f, yeah, bishop b5. This is kind of stinky now, stinky pooey. Because if you have to put the king on f8, this is not good. It's not completely lost, but it's just, yeah. So let me try another game because that was rubbish as well. It does get depressing after a while because you're basically outclassed. It's just playing perfect chess and you're playing far from perfect chess. So. Just playing rubbish chess. Yeah, I noticed plays his move order a lot. I don't know why it doesn't just... Oh, because d... Yeah, that's a clever move order, actually. That's a clever move order, isn't it? How does white avoid that? And how does white avoid going... Because if you go... See, a lot of players are just going to take on d5, right? So I could do this and then just take. Actually, because then it's either going to have to... you could take out a knight, but that can't be good. Because you go e4, you get a good version of another variation, maybe the Tarrasch or something like that. Semi-Tarrasch. So it's probably going to take back the e pawn. If he takes back the c pawn, then you get reasonable version. It could take back the c pawn, certainly possible. Yes, I think that's the best line, take back the pawn. So now bishop g5. But this is not This is known to be very equal because it can put a bishop on f5 with this move order. Yeah, so the other thing I would say with AI is that the way it takes away from human achievement is in creative endeavours as well, because we're seeing now that videos and it actually already prefers black, which I think I played a line like this against David Howe once, because I had like, I was going through a period where I was just losing to David Howe at every single game, so I was like, right, I'm just going to be like really boring and just make sure that I somehow get a result, which is not necessarily a bad idea against like a a superior player, a superior player. I was going to say a superior player on paper, but just superior player full stop would be a more accurate way of describing it. Very strong player, David Howe. I think people forget that because he's a commentator. But he's got good understanding of the game. A4, A6. Maybe then you could argue that A5, B4 becomes horribly weak, but otherwise I'm worried about knight B6 is going to be like a little bit depressing, but A5 feels a very committal move because Queen E7 is possible, and you could go knight A2, but it looks very passive. I'm going to try A5. I'm not happy about it at all. And then knight A2. It doesn't hate it, but feels very passive, all this, right? Very engine-like stuff, right? This is something you can learn from when you play engines, because you notice that seeping into the games of top players is they're much less afraid to throw their pawns in front of the king. I must admit, this is one of the things where it's hard to improve, because you have certain tendencies ingrained in your chess being from an early age. And one of mine is don't throw your pawns in front of your king. Now, I came along really, my chess development as a junior or a younger player came about before engines got really, really strong, probably. But it was still around about that period. They were getting pretty strong. But, they weren't kind of throwing their pawns in front of the king so much, maybe. I don't know. So I could try taking. And then moving the knight back. But it would go, oh, okay, it's gone knight takes. Oh, because now it will get a knight c4, right? Wow, g4 is a really impressive move, because it's like, it does look very obscure, right? But the problem with this position is white doesn't have a plan. And black does kind of have a plan, which is to go maybe, just attack on the king side, really. h5, h4 is one idea. Or f5, possibly, as well. We're going to try knight c3. But again, I hate positions like this where you have no valid plan. It just feels a bit boring and depressing. I mean, I'm plodding on here, right? It's like, I'm getting some kind of result in terms of getting to, a certain number of moves, but so it's always going to meet rook c1 with knight c4. So he's carrying out his plan. It's almost like Mikhail Botvinnik, he's so systematic with how he's carrying out his plan. It's very impressive. Puts the queen on g5, and then goes knight g3 is ready with h4. The iron hand, iron hand. So yeah, if you make a really good picture or whatever, I mean, chess is kind of like that in a way. You draw a very good, you make a very good chess game. It's just kind of artistic in a way. I was say a lot of people raving about Abdul Satarov's game yesterday, like the calculation he did, very nice. When you do a great picture, but then you see that AI has drawn a better one, that's kind of depressing, right? And the other thing is the videos and the pictures are so realistic now. They're becoming scarily realistic. There's a robot I saw the other day, one of these robot conventions, and it just looked like a human being. Like, and you think, well, eventually you're going to have these robot human beings. It's going to happen, right? You know, and that's kind of scary because where does that leave real people? Like, I'd rather have a relationship with you, the robot, rather than you, the person, because it's easier, and I will never get rejected. I find that kind of depressing, right? That people have that viewpoint, but the other danger is as well that you create simulations. I mean, this is why somebody had this theory that, well, there's quite a few people have this theory that we're living in a simulation, because the theory is that mathematically we must be in a simulation, or we must almost certainly be in a simulation. Because if you can create very, very powerful computers in the future that can create very realistic simulations, world simulations, real life simulations, then when you think about it, the odds of this being the real world, the actual real world, is very, very low, because there's so many simulations. So therefore, the odds of us being in a real world, the actual real world, the original real world, is several trillion to one, or whatever the odds are. You're like a Googleplex. But, you know, there's still a chance. So there's still a chance that we're not living in a simulation. You know, reassure yourself. I think it comes down to your own personal feeling, you know. I should start like a simulation kind of YouTube, because I think that would be more interesting than... So it could go knight b3, knight c5, but it can quickly snuff that out with rook a8. I mean, sometimes to kind of break this kind of attack, or as start with counter, what we'll try and leave a e4. So I could try bringing a knight to c5. Now it wants to go knight f2. So knight f2 is a threat. So I shouldn't have done that, mate. That was stupid. So knight f2 is going to become a threat. I'm going to collapse. I mean, I could try knight c3. I don't think it works. I mean, it doesn't have to go... it's just going to go f5, right? Okay, I'm going to just carry on with this crap. So that hates my position. I thought maybe I could take and go knight e2, but it's got f4, maybe. Or h4, g3. Probably... I don't think he's going to take on e3 yet. But I think something like h4, g3 is going to soften me up. h4, yeah. Soften me up. And this is looking very smelly for white. It's playing at an incredibly high level. Now it's got g3. Now he just wants there, and then he's going to go h3. Wow, this is really nice, super nice, right? Because actually queen there, queen f4, it's got like knight d3 ideas. I'm going to try that anyway. I don't see... Oh, he's got knight f3. Yeah, I mean, I'm just outclassed, really. Let's try again. I'm going to try 2 more games, right? 2 more games, then we're going to stop. Oh, very, very tough to get a result against it. Okay, what line have we not tried yet? We could try b6. That's a solid move. Right, let me start with this. Get Grammarly, it said. Yeah, so what do people think about AI? Do you think it's helpful? I think it is useful, right? But we got to be careful about the limitations of it. I was reading this book about AI, and I mean, they were saying that really the idea was that they would redistribute the wealth, but that's just a fallacy, right? Because it's just not going to happen. So really, it's like the sort of very powerful tech companies like Google and Microsoft have control of the AI, and they use a very powerful, because they have access to their own data centers. Very powerful. They have these sort of banks of computers and that's why they can use the AI. They can develop the AI. Like a normal programmer probably can't develop the AI because they don't have the they don't have access to that level of software. Maybe Queen E7's a move. I tried Queen E7. I'm a little bit concerned. Oh, Queen D2. Wow, that's a lovely idea. I've never seen that idea before. It's funny actually it's only giving... it's not giving an even bigger evaluation because it feels like Black's just blundered. Yeah, I haven't seen that idea before actually. That's a very clever idea. So it looks objectively like Black's blundered, but maybe it thinks that after Bishop C6, say for example, Queen G7, Rook G8, Queen H6. Is there anything there for Black? Or maybe Bishop A6, Queen G7, Rook G8, Queen H6, Knight C6. Isn't that clear? Because I get some pressure or something? I don't know. I really don't know. Because it feels like I've just blundered horribly. I'm just going to lose horribly. Which is kind of like how most games go against the engine. It just doesn't look good for Black. I'm just outclassed because I'm just like trying to solve these problems and it's just like thinking 20 moves ahead, right? And I'm trying to solve problems on move 1, right? It's trying to solve problems on move 15. You know, it's just a different level. We are not worthy. We are not worthy. No, I didn't like that move. Yeah, that was not the way to refute his idea. So I'm lost now. So basically, that's an interesting... Okay, let's try another game. Yeah, so one of the things I didn't realise until recently was that Amazon, for example, they make a lot of their money from... Okay, it's got Knight D7, so I guess it's going to go Queen A5 and play the Cambridge Springs. It's interesting that just played like this, which is also a playable variation. Yeah, I think it'll go Knight D5. No, it's just castle, right? So I'm going to castle. Because why not? A6, yeah, that's a nice move. I like that move. Oh, I like that. Oh, I do. If A4, then it was to go C5. I think I've seen that kind of theory before, actually. So there's probably players out there who have a very, very intimate knowledge of this particular variation, but I'm not one of them. So I'm going to have to think what you're supposed to play. Now, Knight E5 is a bit of a negative ninny move, which probably doesn't give any advantage, but is a little bit safe. Now, what I love Black's stored potential in these kind of positions, just to go B5, C5. It's kind of nice, right? I should play the Queen's Gambit declined positions more often as Black, because I think they have, you know, the very good counter-attacking weapon actually these days, because the theory's developed so well. So now it quite likes this position. No, it's still not certain. So for example, if I was to go... Yeah, I didn't really see... The problem was when you play a move, you have to think, what is the threat? Knight E5 did not really create a threat. There is Knight D7, which is a very negative move. I'm going to play it. So I'm a very negative person. It takes about a 9. There is Bishop G3 as well. It's also possible. It wants to go B5. So I guess I take and possibly even take on C5. And then just try and hold. Can I do that? So at the moment it's roughly equal. D5 is a move. but I'm not convinced it's that great. It could go knight b6, for example. It could go knight e5. I'm going to take on c5. Because queen c5, there is... what's that with a knight, right? So again, it's potentially going to go b5. So can I do my negative ninny stuff of trying to swap pieces off? I could slow it down with queen f3. And then if bishop c6 though, what do I do? I guess rook d1. But then b5, maybe. If queen d4, then rook d8. Queen e5, it's got like f6. Or b5. So b5 is the idea, right? If I go b4, I could go b4 actually. It's not ridiculous. So if it comes back now, I'm certainly thinking about a3 now. It's not the only move. Queen b3 also possible. Queen b3, b5, bishop back. Try and go a4 and go for exchanges. Maybe queen b3. I feel that might be a mistake though. A little bit of a mistake. Didn't love it. Still very solid. I want to go a4. So, well, I need to go a4 quickly. So I'm close to chopping wood and being okay, but not close enough. So knight a4, it's got bishop d5, queen a4, rook a4. Let's try knight a4. Okay, I could put rook on d1, but it does nothing. Knight c5 is also possible. Because if it trades twice, b7's hanging at the end. But I guess it would take and go for something like queen, rook b8, right? And when I go queen c3, queen g5 might be annoying. In general, you want to exchange off pieces, but it might be a bit early to do that. There's also rook fd1. If queen g5, bishop f1, but then knight e5. I tried knight c5, it's probably a mistake. I didn't hate it, Didn't hate that move. It didn't hate it. It didn't hate it. Queen c3 is possible. So again, his pawn on a6 is kind of weak, so I might be able to chop a lot of wood off. Bit risky. Not sure it quite works. Queen c3. Is all this queen g5 idea he's got? a5, yeah, that's really clever. So he wants knight d7, a b4. I bow to you, oh great computer. Well played, well played. Oh, what genius you are, genius. Incredible computer, incredible. So knight d7, a b4, queen c5's a line. Then he goes rook d7. Because rook d7, rook a8, bishop a8, can't regain the ball. So you will be a pawn down in his technically lost position. I'm not really seeing anything other than knight d7, so I'm assuming it must be knight d7 to begin with. No, he hates that move. So now I'm lost. So if you think back to the I mean, you can't go backwards. That's the only problem with this. You can't go back. So I'm trying to go backwards. I can't go backwards because it's obviously got limitations inside. But if you think about the previous position, what could I have done with a knight on c5? I mean, there were other options like rook c1, for example. And maybe I had some really clever idea. Maybe knight a6 was a move. I don't know. Because you couldn't take on a5 because you lose a knight. Either way, like rook a5 or b a5. yeah, it felt. I mean, that's what the computer does. It just sets you very difficult problems. I must admit, I didn't see a good follow up after, so I should have fought for longer here because I didn't see a good follow up to AB4. I was just guessing. Also, I was hoping this would be the way, but it wasn't. Obviously, wasn't. It does help you a little bit having the evaluation because then you kind of know, oh, I'm okay. So you don't psychologically crumble. You keep trying to find the best move. So that's good training as well. And it probably gives you a better chance of getting a result against the engine, but it's still extremely difficult. I think I did get a couple of draws when I played on my phone, but they were like repetitions where it allowed me to draw by repeating the position. Probably if it played something risky and played on, then it would have beaten me. But anyway, I think I'll stop there. Please leave your comments down below. Do you play against engines? Have you played this site? It's quite an interesting website. I think he's got a few he's got so basically if I go back to the so basically there's loads of engines here you can play against. Patricia, Sayhak. I don't know, did they do Leela? What rating is Leela? I guess Leela's maybe not available on this. Pingu. There's lots of lovely names as well. I love all these names. And you think of all the passion that's gone into a lot of these engines. Luna, Raven, Wild Chess. So you get some quite lower rated ones as well, like Thrawn. So you can potentially beat some of these engines, but the top ones are scarily good. And he's got quite a few websites, this guy, Jimmy Russell's. So please check out his website. It says engines have been tested, but reliability cannot be guaranteed. A maximum 5 seconds computer move time is allowed. So obviously they're not playing on maybe the depth that they would be, but they're still very strong. Engines are set to use a 32 megabit hash table. Pawns will auto promote queens. Freefold. So that could also be a limitation as well. Pawns will auto. There's some positions where obviously you don't want to auto promote a queen, but very rarely you'd even get to that state against a computer anyway. Freefold draws are not detected. Well, there's some engines maybe you would get to that state against, but not the top ones. Are very, very tough to get a result against. I may do another video like this. I quite enjoy playing against computers. It's good training to play against chess engines.